I said I was going to take today off, but with the news that came out yesterday, I can't take the day off. What is up, Finn fans? You see the title. We're talking Chris Grier. We are talking about murmurs. We're talking about potential moving on from Chris Grier, as well as other stuff like the fact that we might have lost a third round comp pick in the Wilkins, not release, but him signing somewhere else. And we're going to get a little update on injuries from the 30th that, we can talk about. So first, let's talk about a little bit of the injury updates. So this is from the 30th. So I think they'll be practicing today as well. So I'll give you more updates. Obviously on Friday, I'll give you a preview and we'll get more and more updates on who's doing what. But and I already reported on this, but from yesterday, Mike McDaniel, not yesterday, the 30th, Mike McDaniel said Tyler Huntley will get most of the snaps, and Tua status for the Jets game remains unknown because of the hip injury that hasn't healed. We're in a gray area because his body did not cooperate. I don't like hearing that his body didn't cooperate. I got a whole shebang talking about Tua in the offseason, and we are going to look more deeper into his contract and the out that is potentially there in 2026, not 2027. There's a lot to talk about, but it irks me a little bit that he's injured again because, this is a time we really need him and we don't have him. Obviously, he's optimistic that Waddle will play on Sunday versus the Jets, which is very good to hear. He's also said it's unlikely that Anthony Walker Jr. will play Sunday, which I think it's just because Tyler Dotson did so well. He actually won an award this week for how well he did against Cleveland and Brooks. So if you go back, watch the film breakdown, it shows you some of that good stuff. When he talked about Terron Armstead, who left the game Sunday with an injury, he has not ruled out for the season, but his status for the Jets game is obviously in question. I really, really doubt he will play versus the Jets. So just a little update there on the injury front. Let's talk about the comp pick. So the Dolphins currently slotted 15th in the first round of the NFL draft, could end up picking anywhere from 12th to 18th if they miss the playoffs, and obviously later than that if they make the playoffs, depending on what round they're eliminated. But one mild draft setback came to light on New Year's Eve when compensatory pick expert Nick Corte of Over the Cap revealed that he expects Dolphins will get a fourth rounder, not the expected third rounder for losing Christian Wilkins to the Las Vegas Raiders. Miami was due a third rounder, but Corte conveyed on X and again in a private exchange that current formulas project Miami getting a fourth rounder for losing Wilkins. A season-ending broken foot sustained in week 5 has dropped Wilkins' playtime percentage to less than 25% of the Raiders' defensive snaps. Corday said that means he gets no boost at all in the compensatory formula that could drop the round his contract is valued from third to fourth. But we are expected to get a third rounder for Robert Hunt, a fourth rounder for Wilkins, and now a seventh rounder for Deshaun Elliott. So we're getting 3 extra draft picks. It sucks. And it's the same thing that happened to us with Juwan James when he went to Denver, got hurt, and our comp pick dropped again. I am just forewarning you guys that if you follow me on Twitter today, I'm gonna be very petty on Twitter. Because when he got injured, I was like, damn, that sucks. He's a great player, but also that's going to hurt our comp pick. And so many people were like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You wish you this and that and blah, blah, blah. Apparently, I'm not wrong. So, but yeah, that sucks. We're losing our comp pick. Comp pick's going to go down there. But let's talk about what everyone wants to talk about. And that is the fact that there's some murmurs per Ian Rappaport. There's some murmurs. Now, let me show you what the crap I'm talking about right here. Elsewhere, now he's talking about, and he also went on the Rich Eisen podcast and said it as well, and we'll listen to that. But he was talking about the head coaches and guys who can be moved and fired and yada yada, like Gerard Mayo and will Mike McCarthy be gone when Dallas and yada yada. And then at the end he says, elsewhere, I'm pretty surprised if there were changes in Philly after the year the Eagles had. On the GM side, there has been at least murmurs of the front office shuffling in Indianapolis and Miami. And then not only that, you got this.
I think there are a lot of those sorts of discussions happening right now. Now, again, like I would say Indianapolis and Miami are the two where I think the coaches are relatively safe, but the general managers might be, there might be some discussions about the future of the general manager in this place.
I can only hope and pray. I can only hope and pray. It's time to move on. And I know I get a lot of comments from people who like Grier and think we should give him another shot. I am not one of them. And I talked about it in yesterday's New Year's resolution video. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. I get sappy in the beginning like I normally do. And then I talked offensive football. I do like the core that this team has. Like if Jalen Phillips can come back and his bad luck of injuries can be snapped and him and Chop on opposite ends, fantastic. Sealer in the middle. If we bring back Dotson, you have Dotson and Brooks. Obviously, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Devon Achane, you have Jalen Wright, you have Jonnu Smith. I do like Brewer in the middle. Austin Jackson isn't bad at right tackle. Like there's core, and obviously you got Tua, but again, Tua can't stay healthy. It's kind of the same situation we have with Jalen Phillips. You have a very good, and Malik Washington. I don't even know why I didn't bring him up, and Jason Sanders. You got a very good core there. You just got to build around it. You got to add the pieces. You got to add complementary pieces. You got to add pieces that make sense. And Chris Grier, and I've said this time and time again, Chris Grier has been with this team for how long? And it gets to the point where, it's one more year. Give him one more year. That's like a Stephen Ross mindset. And I've heard it. Give him one more year, learn from his mistakes. I've had comments like that, but it's been 6 years of him having the reins all to himself. And if he didn't learn from his mistakes over the previous 5, and we're still getting it now, it's a problem. And, a lot of people, and myself included, I'm a big proprietor of this, talk about the offensive line. And obviously there is the notion that, the offensive line is built the way Mike McDaniels wants it to be built. And the offensive line is the way it is because of how Mike McDaniels' offense can mask it and Tua can throw the ball quick and yada, yada. That doesn't work, man. You've seen it not work for 3 years. You've seen it when it comes to December. It's just not working. You need to have a general manager that isn't a yes man. Now, I don't know if Grier's a yes man. The fact that he's still with this team means that he's somewhat of a yes man because Stephen Ross likes him and keeps him around. But you need someone that's not a yes man. You know what I'm saying? With Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel. Side note, he hired both of them. You need someone who, like if Mike McDaniel says, I really like the weapons, right? We got Tyreek Hill. We got Jalen Waddle. If we can go out and get Jonnu Smith and, bring in Odell, then I can get the ball out quick. I could scheme it. We can go, quick passes. We can screen base. We could do this, and that. And the offensive line won't be an issue because we won't need plays to develop much because we'll use the speed of our guys. You need to have a general manager that looks Mike McDaniel in the face and goes, that isn't going to work. And then explain it to him. Listen, Mike, I like what you scheme up, but you want to be able to push the ball down the field. You want to be able to have a run game. You want to be able to run in between the tackles. You want to be able to convert 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts. You want these things to happen, and they won't happen if you don't have a good offensive line, preferably an interior offensive line. Like you had success last year because you had Robert Hunt. You had success last year in the beginning of the year because of the offensive line you had in Teron Armstead, Isaiah Wynn, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson. That's why at the beginning of the year, the Dolphins offense was nuts. Then at the end of the year, the Dolphins offense was not good. Could barely score points because of the offensive line. And that's what the GM should do. It's not going to work. Brian Flores, very focused on the defense. You know, you got to be like, listen, we got to bring in an offensive coordinator that's going to help and assist our quarterback. Who cares about the quarterback? We'll replace him. I don't like him anyway. Well, that's not going to work right now, because right now I will try and see what I could do, but right now we need to help him. You know what I'm saying? You need a GM that's going to come out and not just, okay, whatever you want. You want more pass rushers? You like pass rushers and skill position? Okay, I'll get you all that. And then with that, whatever scrap money we got left over, I'll fill in the defensive tackles and into your offensive line. I'll bring in 9 defensive tackles and we'll pick the best 6. That's not how that works. You also have to have a good draft pedigree. And he doesn't. You know how he knows he doesn't? He brought in 2 guys who did, in McKenzie, and I don't remember the other guy from the Kansas City Chiefs. He had to bring in 2 guys to help him draft players. So, you know, if these murmurs are a thing, and I'm hoping Stephen Ross sits back and, you know, it's another situation where if we don't make the playoffs, Chris Grier needs to get fired. I've said it before, the only way you don't fire Chris Grier is if we win a playoff game. If we get in the playoffs, the Broncos lose to the Chiefs, the Dolphins beat the Jets, we get in the playoffs, and somehow we beat Buffalo in Buffalo. Again, I will give myself a crew cut if that happens. Chris Grier, fine, you can stay. But you better make some changes, because if it doesn't, people. But if they beat the Jets, go 9-8, but don't make the playoffs, or lose to the Jets and get eliminated themselves, you got to fire Chris Grier, man. Now, this whole notion of they're going to keep Mike McDaniel, I don't like that. I don't like the thought process, and I didn't like it when we hired Mike McDaniel, of having to, you know, strap somebody else to this person. But it could work in an aspect where the new GM you know, meet with, or you interview and you say, listen, we want to see what Mike can do with a new guy, with someone in your pedigree, your expertise. We want to see what you guys can do together, and if it doesn't work, we'll move on from them next year. Maybe they say something like that. If you bring in a up and coming hot GM and they're like, why would I want to work here, you know, this and that, they could say something like that, like, listen, blah blah blah. So we'll see what happens. Monday is the day. Monday's Black Monday. That's where coaches get fired, GMs get fired, teams move on when the season's over. It's going to be interesting, but with this little tidbit of information from me and Rappaport, and then the update on the comp picks and all that stuff, I wanted to make a quick video for you guys. So hope you guys had a fantastic New Year's Day. Get some rest. I'll see you tomorrow with the pick video. Then Friday, I will see you with the preview of the Jets game. Saturday, if there's any updates, video then. And then I'll see you Sunday, 4:25. My dad will be here, and we'll break it down. Live reaction. But like usual, stay classy. And fins up.